the best of your ability, okay? All right. Father God, thank you so much for this night, Lord. Thank you for the heart that you've given Alan, Lord. I just ask, Lord, that you would be with him, give him the right words to say, Lord, and be able to speak to these students in a way that they need to hear tonight, Lord. And I just ask that you would be over this whole situation. We ask this in your holy name. Amen. Amen.
Can't say y'all take notice, that's taking things a little too far. So some of y'all may know me, some of y'all may not. My life group actually fed y'all somewhere a few weeks ago. So my name's Alan Tucker. I've been with He's Alive Church for a little over 5 years now. Grew up in Concord, on the outskirts of Mount Pleasant. Grew up in went to Mount Pleasant Middle School, Mount Pleasant High School, graduated, played football, ran track. Whole 9 yards there, graduated in 2011. So for some of y'all that are going through now and graduating and whatnot, it definitely makes me feel old. Ain't gonna lie about that. So let me ask y'all, how many of y'all within school have dealt with peer pressure? Everybody should raise their hands because everybody's dealt with it. How many of you have given in to peer pressure? What are some examples of peer pressure given to? I ain't gonna tell you parents about stuff. What? Drugs? Your daddy's sitting over there. What's some other peer pressures? Give me some examples. What? Making fun of somebody? Gossip? Drama? Yeah, that comes from us. How about alcohol? Have any of y'all ever faced that? What about drugs? As it was said. You've been faced with it, you've got friends that do it, you feel that when you're with people, you feel like that's what you need to do because to stay with them or be friends with them, that's what it involves you to be a part of. So, when I was 17, roughly, I started meddling in alcohol, tobacco, drugs, mainly weed, dealing with that. Went to school with a bunch of kids that did it. Actually had a good friend of mine that got a really good scholarship to go play football here in North Carolina and lost his scholarship because they got so high one night that they broke into a convenience store. The stuff will make you do things that you do not want to do. I know we've all went through the DARE classes, we've all talked to people, but I'm coming to you first and foremost to tell you the effects that it can have in your life from a first person perspective. So around 17 was when I started messing with alcohol, never really touched beer that much, didn't like it. Most of my friends were older. Most of my friends were in the 20, 21 year age gap, so I had easy accessibility to get alcohol. Started off with dealing with liquor, whiskey, things like that. Just didn't like beer. Felt like beer was for old people. As it progressed and as I got older towards the end of my senior year, how many of y'all are seniors in here? Okay, so you're getting ready to graduate. That's when it picked up for me. Right towards the last 2 months of school into senior week. In fact, I don't hardly remember my senior week because it was literally spent the entire time I was drunk. But it was fun because my friends did it, I did it. You feel good when you're doing things, but it progresses from there. So moving on after senior week, come back, get a job, the whole normal 9 yards of what a fresh graduate would do. Then it progressed. Then I got to the point where I turned to getting into beer, and that was a everyday thing. We first started off with weekends, hanging out with friends, going to do different things, drink some beer, hang out, be cool. Then it gradually got worse. By the time I was 19, I was so dependent on alcohol that it was a daily thing. I would leave work, within 15 minutes I would have a 24-pack in the passenger seat of my truck, and that would be gone by 10, 11 o'clock that night. And that was every day. Every single day. That's what I starts to be a part of your life. You get to the point where if you've got enough money in your bank account to buy dinner or buy alcohol, you're going to buy alcohol. It's that edge that's over you that you don't feel like you can get by without it. So wheels keep turning. Before I turn 20 years old, I'm already in the category of alcohol. If you have more than, I think they say 5 beers or 5 drinks within one sitting, you're considered in the stages of alcoholic. I was having 18 to 24 every day within a period of 5 to 6 hours. And was still functioning. I was what they call a functioning alcoholic. So life continued on, but it continued on as I drank. Then I started getting into the toils of drinking and driving. Some of y'all might be familiar with it, but there's out in Concord towards the 49 area, there is a road called Old Airport Road. Runs from Branchview all the way down to 49 by the arena. So one night, I decided to get drunk, waiting on some buddies of mine to get out of the movie. We were going to meet up and eat supper. Traveling down that road, I crossed the center line, and within about a 2-second gap, I had a head-on collision, which would have killed myself and the person who owned coming away. The man turned around and met me at the stoplight and asked me what I was doing. Said I could have killed him. Couldn't even look him in the eye. All I could holler was, "I know." And nothing happened, thank God. However, that's a fear that haunts me daily. I think about that daily because the what ifs play a factor. What if I would have hit him? What if he would have had a kid in the car? It's things like that that you start to really think about, and you really start to, rationalize in your mind. Move forward 6 months per se. Same instance again. Still spending the time drinking and driving, losing my job because I was more focused on alcohol. My performance at work suffered. Go to a buddy's house one night. I got my best friend and his girlfriend, now wife, in the truck with me. We leave their house. We're out in the Rockville area. Start coming home. Bad storm that night, real bad storm. And storm had passed, coming down a road that I wasn't familiar with. Blew through a stop sign, doing probably 50 miles an hour. Locked brakes up on the truck, slid probably 150 feet, hit a rock in the guy's front yard, pushed it about 20 yards, walked away without a scratch. All 3 of us did. Highway patrol had to come, and we called my parents. They showed up, and the first thing that my mom says to me is, "You smell like a brewery." And we probably had, between the 2 of us, probably 40 beers. But we walked away. But I had to sit in front seat of the highway patrol's car. And I was fortunate that they were so busy that night that he didn't have time to mess with the DUI. That's not good. In my opinion, looking back, I should have been in the drunk tank. Period. Continue on in life and start dabbling in steroids, doing HGH self-injections, because my buddies were doing it. And it was, at the time, it was the right thing to do. What I'm trying to get at is with addiction, it's a path that doesn't end. It's a path that continues on. Everything will be your last until it's not your last. You get to the point to where it has such a hold on your life that you will not be able to function without it. I met my wife about 10 years ago. We've been married 6 years in October. When her and I were dating, my alcohol was you know, most of the time that's when people start drinking in that area. You know, 30 years ago, that was the age. However, it wasn't the case for me. I was already so dependent on it that I could go to a bar and outdrink somebody that had been drinking for 4 years, or keep up with it, which is not something to be proud of. When her and I started dating, one of the most wretched texts that I got from her was one that said, "I don't feel that there's enough room in your life for me right now, so I think that I'm just going to bow out." And this was about 3 months after we'd been together. And then that was when God started rolling in my life again. I started to get realizations that maybe I'm not doing what I need to do. So we went to, for my buddy's 21st birthday, we went to the mountains. We're up there. It was just a solid long weekend, be able to get away and just drink. Drink like you wouldn't believe. 2 days in, I fall, get my foot wedged in a rock in the river, and fall backwards. Knew I had broke my foot. I knew it was broke. My buddy was like, "Nah, man, you're good." So I had to walk up 78 steps from the river to the house. I walked on that foot for 3 days before I went to the hospital. Knew something was wrong, didn't know what was wrong. My mother-in-law's a nurse. She was like, "It's very unlikely that you broke your foot by where the pain was." Turns out I was the second person in the state of North Carolina that's ever broke my foot where I broke it. I'm proud of that still. I carry that with me. But I also carry a 1.5-inch long screw that's going up through my big toe. So with that, I'm not trying to get gruesome with it, but with that, it put me on pretty much bed rest for 8 weeks. Had to have surgery, couldn't do anything, couldn't work, nothing. And you know how y'all ever heard the saying that if you don't listen to God, God's going to get your attention? Well, that's what he did. He got my attention in the aspect of, one day I was sitting there looking around in my bed, and I sit up and my Bible's sitting on my nightstand. I probably had to pick my Bible up and couldn't tell you how long. And this was through the fact of my mother dragging me to church hungover on Sunday mornings. So pick it up, start reading the Bible. And something just grabs me. And it just tells me that you're not doing what I've called you to do. You're not performing, you're not living the life that you should be living for Christ. You're not glorifying me, meaning God. So from that point there, it was cold turkey, done. And most people cannot quit alcohol cold turkey because alcohol is the one thing that if you quit cold turkey, it can kill you if you're dependent enough on it. Since then, I think this year is coming up, it'll be 9 years sober in September. Since then, I've also been a youth pastor for 3 years. And it's just that turnaround of glorifying God. Take what God did to you, or what God did for you in reality, and live it to glorify Him. Use your life as a living witness. Be the witness for people, because some of y'all may deal with it. Some of y'all won't deal with it. For the ones that are graduating, for the ones that are coming up on your senior year, you're going to be pressed with things like you wouldn't believe. Your friends are going to be involved. Your friends are going to want you to do things. And you know, your parents, I'm sure, have all had the talk of, "Don't do it, just call me. I'll come pick you up." Utilize that. Take it from somebody that was in y'all's shoes 10, 15 years ago. Utilize that. Because I'll tell you this much, your parents are going to be a lot happier knowing that you turned it down than they are getting a call from a police officer saying you're going to buy one, or getting a call from a police officer saying, "Hey, we have your child for underage drunk." there's things that will haunt you for the rest of your life when it comes to the battle of addiction. Some of y'all might be battling addiction right now and you don't even know it. Y'all know what number one addiction in America is right now? Cell phone. Strongest muscle in the teenage body is the thumbs. You think I'm kidding? Look it up. You think I'm kidding? Break the addiction of this stuff. Start setting this stuff aside. There's a picture that was on Facebook a few years ago that had a fishing lure tied to the bottom of the bottle. And the fishing lure was hanging down with the hook to the front side of the bottle as the man was turning the bottle of alcohol up. And that is true for every hint for it, that it's only a matter of time before the hook is sunk in and you're hooked on it. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be hard. But if you have friends that are pushing you to do this stuff, get them out of your life. There's a saying called birds of a feather flock together. Or hang out with losers and become a loser. It's the same way. And I'm going to tell you, it'll be hard. But the day I put down the bottle is the day that I lost every friend that I ever had. And I'm talking friends of 10, 15 years. Haven't spoken to them since. And been through a lot with this people. Loyalty doesn't mean anything when it comes to stuff like that. But right now for y'all, you're where you need to be. Being in this youth group, being involved like you are, being involved in the church, being involved in school. The times like this is where it's going to condition you for future trials that you're going to face. I'm not coming to you to tell you that, you don't need to do it because it's bad. I mean, it is. It is bad. However, it's one of those things that take it from someone that lived it. Take it from someone that lived through it. Ask my wife. She can tell you the mess I put her through, going through that stage, going through that portion of life. But God uses people for things like that. He used her for me to help get me clean, to help get me out of the darkness that came with that. So that's all I got for Jeremy Starks for your time. But if y'all ever see me, I know sometimes it can be awkward. If y'all ever see me walk in the halls, Sunday morning, whatever, if y'all ever need anything, let me know. If y'all ever need to talk, let me know. Ladies, my wife, same way. If y'all need anything, find me, I'll find her. Trust me, she's got other trackers on me. But find some friends that are going to support you and push you to be better in life and not try to drag you down to their level in life. A lot of people that deal with the addictions and things like that are going to try to pull you down with them versus supporting you to keep you from doing it. And I promise you, you'll find more friends. If somebody doesn't love or cherish you enough as a friend to support you and uphold what you're choosing to do, they're not your friend. Or build a spot, but they're not your friend. So find some people to stay around you. Be the people that keep the people with you to be the people that you want to